right, everyone. Welcome back to Fabulous Friday here on One Life Radio. This is Bernadette via Shetty with Jerry Caldwell and Marie Early. We are broadcasting live from Dallas, Texas on iHeartMedia, as well as KMET in Southern California on ABC News Talk. We've got a great show for you today. We've got Shelby Babowski. She is the executive director of the Texas Humane Legislation Network, as well as the Texas Humane Network. Shelby moved from Chicago to Dallas in 1999 to begin her law practice. She began volunteering with THLN in 2011, and in 2017, she made the decision to do only pro bono work, assisting animal welfare advocates and rescues. Shelby teaches animal law and wildlife law at the Southern Methodist University College of Law and travels the state teaching animal cruelty laws and Texas animal laws. She shares her animal kingdom with 3 boys, 1 spouse, 3 rescued dogs, and 2 rescued prairie dogs. You can find Shelby at THLN.org. That's THLN.org, or on Instagram at THLNTX for Texas. Shelby, welcome to One Life Radio. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh yeah, this is what I live for, Shelby. You know, like you, I'm so passionate about how we treat our animals because I do feel it's so indicative of our success as a society to be civil and responsible, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I love the work that you've been doing, and the fact that you would do it pro bono, that just speaks volumes about your heart. You've been working with animal advocates and shelters for more than a decade now. How did you become involved in animal welfare? What made you flip the switch?
It's such a great question. So, as you mentioned, I'm an attorney by trade, and I was in my law practice in a high-rise in downtown Dallas, and quite frankly, I was really bored and, you know, at the same time frustrated with kind of the career path I had chosen. I had helped animals here and there with fundraisers with our Young Lawyers Association. But at that time, I saw an email come across, and it said, "We need volunteers. There is a puppy mill bust." And I thought, wow, I probably can't do that. It's probably far out in the country. Mm-hmm. It was in Kaufman County, and it was less than 15 miles from where I actually was officing. I said, there's no way that there could be a puppy mill. Well, I went, and there were over 500 dogs in this tiny 1-bedroom house and her a garage/shed outside.
Oh my
and
gosh.
It was the first time I had ever seen truly a puppy mill up close. Now, I went to the warehouse and was just trying to help with the animals. But, I mean, the smells, the sounds, I could not believe that this woman had this many animals. And at the end of the day, as an attorney, I thought, how is this legal? And so that was actually in 2009. I learned about Texas Humane Legislation Network. At the time, we were trying to pass a bill that would regulate large-scale breeding facilities. Well, unfortunately, it died at the very last minute. Less than 2 years later, the same dog owner was able to amass 67 more dogs. So she had 500 taken away, and she had started collecting more. So at that time, 2011, I was all in, and we were very, very successful in passing the Texas licensed breeder law then. So that's where I started. And really, at the end of the day, it's as simple as this. Yeah. You can effectuate change for thousands of animals with the passage of one law. So I was hooked.
Yeah, and you know, I know you know this. You were probably instrumental in it here in Dallas, the city of Dallas. You can't sell puppies, but there's outlying areas, and there are actually puppy stores. I'm not going to name them. I talk about this on the air a lot. I won't go into the whole story, but we've actually visited one of them, and it broke my heart, everything that I saw in there. But we have to shut those down as well. And state law is the way to do that, correct? Not just
That's
city.
right.
Or is it possible to pass a state law like that that affects every city in the state of Texas so we can't sell puppies anywhere?
Well, yes. So this is so timely. So you are correct. In the state of Texas, there are currently 18 cities that do not allow puppies being sold in pet stores. And we are very happy that THLN was instrumental in passing it in Dallas, Houston, San Marcos, just to name a few.
Okay.
There was a bill in 2021 and 2023 that would essentially end the sale of puppies in counties with more than 200,000 because, one size does not fit all in Texas. And in some of our rural areas, how they get their working dogs is they will bring the puppies up to the feed stores. And those aren't the people that we're going after. What we're trying to do is we're trying to stop the puppy mill pipeline from out-of-state, unscrupulous breeders into Texas. And think of it this way. We are killing ourselves to foster, rescue, and get these dogs transported out of Texas and into other areas that don't have our overpopulation problems. Transportation has been amazing at saving lives. But while we are killing ourselves to transport thousands of dogs out of this state, why is it legal and allowed for puppy millers to ship thousands of puppies in? Before the ordinance passed in Dallas in 2020, 1,348 puppies were shipped to the Dallas Petland. And then after we passed our ordinance, none. So, yes, we need to pass a statewide law or we're going to continue to play whack-a-mole until we pass one.
There's a shelter here in Dallas that's 170% over capacity. I'm looking at it right now. There's 125 puppies that they're asking to help with the foster dogs of Texas. And it's just so sad to see that many puppies that and we wouldn't have this problem if people would just be responsible. And this is not, this is a community problem. Would you agree with that? It's a community problem.
100%. I'm originally from the Midwest, and, growing up, every single one of our dogs was spayed and neutered. In fact, it was not only the law, it was the right thing to do. And it was almost embarrassing if you didn't have that. And, down here, unfortunately, there is this Texas mindset, that why do I have to spay and neuter my dog?
I know.
And so although a lot of cities have that spay neuter, that is definitely going to be our focus in the interim and trying to educate people that spay and neuter is the most important thing you can do. Look, we can't save and rescue our way out of this overpopulation crisis. And I know the messaging has somewhat switched to, saving them all. But at the end of the day, we really need to spay and neuter them all because that is the heart of the problem.
It is.
And that is where it starts, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of places you can do it for free because I know a lot of people are suffering right now financially. They don't have the extra $100 or $200, depending upon the size of the dog, maybe even $300 to get their dog spayed or neutered. But there's a lot of places where you can get free spay and neuter, like SPCA, right? Or did they? I think. Well, Marie's looking and making a face at me and shaking her head like I said something wrong. Where can you get free spay and neuters?
Listen, it is a great question. I will start by saying it is a complicated problem because we do not want to punish our underserved communities, right?
Right.
There are so many vouchers that exist out there. There are great partnerships with the Spay Neuter Network. A lot of vet clinics. We've got Texas Coalition for Animal Protection. And so there are low-cost spay-neuter services out there. But we understand sometimes that, unfortunately, you can't even get the transportation to take your animal. And we do not want to take away animals from people that love them the most. Look, we passed in 1997, we passed the animal-friendly license plate. And that has given over $8 million throughout the state of Texas for low-cost space, some of our most underserved and rural communities. I will say that currently there is a veterinarian shortage, and it is also a crisis. Yeah. But at the same time, we need those puppies and kittens truly spayed and neutered before they leave. I mean, think of those puppies being shipped in to that one store in Dallas. They were all unaltered. And sometimes people were purchasing these puppies and then they wanted to recoup their expenses and would do, an accidental breed here or there. So again, it is a huge intellectually challenging issue on this overpopulation. But truly, if you can get the animals spayed and neutered, we ask that everybody do so.
Well, yeah, and then I think of Peter. So I have a puppy that I'll tell you the story after the break because it might take me a minute.
And real quick, Vern, I think you were talking about the SPCA has programs that they will help with food and supplies and things like
That's
that.
right.
If
To
you can't
offset
afford
your expenses,
yes.
Yeah, but I'll tell you the Peter the puppy story when we come back from break.
Great.
Also, possibly to put my cynical side to good use on the show, maybe we should find a way to raise some funds so that we can outbid whoever's lobbying against the powers that be in the state.
Yeah.
So that they'll start paying attention to that instead of them.
No, that's a great idea.
Excellent
I'm all for
point.
it, man. We all get a short time on this planet. It goes by very quickly, and I'm all the way in. I'm fully committed to the cause. I am. So, but let's go to break, and we're gonna have some more great doggy talk here. So stay tuned.
I want to hear about the prairie dogs.
Oh, the prairie dogs too. That's right.
Prairie dogs. What's
Yeah, she's
going
got
on
prairie
here?
dogs. How did that happen? We'll hear the story right after the break. All right, everyone, stay tuned. You are listening to Shelby Babowski. She's the executive director of the Texas Humane Legislation Network and the Texas Humane Network. We will be right back. You're listening to One Life Radio.
Follow us on social media at One Life Radio.
Protecting your health can get pretty complicated these days. And if you're like me, you have a counter full of supplements, and it can be exhausting. I think most of us like to keep things simple. I know I do. That's one of the things I like about Cardio Miracle. It's a comprehensive heart and health supplement with over 50 ingredients and antioxidants, including organic beets, carrots, coconut, pineapple, and raspberries, combined with the best amino acids, such as L-arginine, L-citrulline, and L-ornithine. These ingredients work together synergistically to promote and sustain the body's natural production of nitric oxide. Our body is amazing, and it's important to remember that it wants to be healthy. By giving it natural and bioavailable nutrients, it can keep all of our different systems in shape, and it will work in the background to achieve a better level of overall health while you go about living your life. So give it what it needs with Cardio Miracle. Find Cardio Miracle at cardiomiracle.com. That's cardiomiracle.com. Magnesium supports the health of nearly every system in the human body, yet it can be difficult to maintain healthy levels through diet or supplements. The ideal way to restore and maintain healthy magnesium levels is through your body's largest, most efficient organ of absorption, your skin. Be sure that your body is getting the magnesium it needs with Ancient Minerals, the #1 recommended topical magnesium among health practitioners worldwide. Their lotions, highly concentrated magnesium oils, bath salts, and gels make it easy to get the daily magnesium you need to thrive. And the best part? Ancient Minerals is part of Enviromedica, a name synonymous with quality and integrity. Learn more about magnesium and Ancient Minerals at Enviromedica.com.
Want to advertise on One Life Radio? Send us an email, info@oneliferadio.com.
Contagiously positive. One Life Radio is back.
All right, everyone. It is Fabulous Fridays here on One Life Radio. This is Bernadette with Jerry Caldwell, Marie Early, and Shelby Babowski. We are all back broadcasting live here from Dallas, Texas on iHeartMedia, as well as KMET in Southern California on ABC News Talk. Shelby Babowski is the executive director of the Texas Humane Legislation Network and the Texas Humane Network. We're talking about fighting animal cruelty here in Texas. You can find Shelby at THLN.org. That's THLN.org, or on Instagram at THLNTX, and that's for Texas. All right, so I was going to tell the story of Peter the puppy. Shelby, I'll try to be as quick as possible. Back about, I don't know, how many months has it been, Marie? It's been
It's like at least
6 or 7 months. So I think it's been about 7. It doesn't. 7. Let's just call it 7 months. Marie had a brilliant idea that I say that being facetious a little bit, but funny too. Her heart had the right idea. They're at the end of at Beltline and 30, okay, which is
Garland.
It's Garland, and on the other side is Sunnyvale, okay, and so. They had a puppy store there, and they had a girl out there saying puppies, puppies, and Marie saw it
On the side of the road.
on the side of the road, and she said, "Oh my God, Bern, they're selling puppies down the street from you." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And so we decided we were going to go undercover, which lasted about 6 seconds.
And then Bernadette starts yelling at them.
I wasn't. I was yelling at them, but my voice wasn't raised. I was just kind of. I was very perturbed when I went in there and I saw all these little puppies and they're this little babies, and they've been ripped from their mothers and they're in these cages and it was just awful, Shelby. You know what I'm talking about. And so I locked eyes with this one beagle, okay, and I was like, oh my God. And I kept looking away, and every time I looked over, he was looking at me, and he was too big for the cage, and they said that they had moved him around like 3 different times, and nobody wanted him, and they even lowered the price on him, and I was like, oh my gosh, why did I come in here? Because I already have a lot of dogs, Shelby, and a lot of cats, and I thought, I don't need another dog. I just can't do it, but I couldn't even sleep that night. I'm like, oh my gosh. I made Marie call them before they closed and said that I'm coming to get the dog tomorrow, but I needed a better price because they were asking something like a crazy amount of money for it, like a couple $1,000s. And so I asked him to really give me like a huge discount. I'm talking like, 75, 80%. And I went and I got him, and I couldn't hug that baby fast enough. And when I put him out on my front yard, Shelby, it was the first time he had ever touched the earth, like with his paws. Yeah. And so, and you hear stories like that, and he's coming out of it now. He's going to be a year old, I think maybe in November is when he was born. They were breeding him for Christmas, breeding all these animals for Christmas presents. A living, breathing, wonderful little baby dog or cat or whatever, or any kind of animal is not a Christmas present. It's not. It's not meant for a Christmas present. And you see how upset I get? That's how I was in the store that day.
Well, your story is definitely pretty common. These stores, first of all, these puppies are trucked in over thousands of miles. We call it the Puppy Mill Pipeline into Texas. Mm-hmm. And they're taken from their mothers, typically way too young. Yep. They go in one transport van, and they're tiny, and their immune systems are not fully developed. Some die along the route. Once they get to the store, they're pumped with antibiotics. Mm-hmm. And what we have found is many of them have congenital diseases. Yeah. And they're selling sick puppies upon puppies. Harold is truly our story. He was a Frenchie that had a congenital disease, and he lived until recently. And, he was really the face of the problem that exists with Puppy Mill puppies in Texas. Because when you go into that store, it looks clean. And people say, well, what's the problem? The store is clean. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the cages are clean. That's not the issue. The issue is the pipeline to Texas. Try to find their mother or father, right? You won't, because at least the puppies get out. The parents are just trapped in years of small cages, no vet care, and that is what we will be focusing on in the 2025 legislative session. So I'm so glad you brought this up.
Well, yeah, and he had no toys. He had all this crinkle paper in there, which I've had him now for 7-8 months, and I still can't get him to stop eating paper because that's all he had to play with, and then they would take him in this room that had all the windows painted so you couldn't see really what was in there. That's where they take him to pee and poop on this like, I don't know, like grates or probably concrete, and then they hose it down. I don't know because we didn't actually see it. But he was so mentally ill by the time I got him, Shelby, that it took me months just to assure him that he was going to have food, and you don't have to, go to the bar, go to the bowl and devour the food. Poor little thing. And
one of for those people that let's say, because we have a lot of legislators that are fiscally conservative, and what we try to tell them as well as others is, you were fortunate that you could pay that. There are credit cards that they offer you. The interest rate is so obscene. So it's the predatory lending part that's even worse. Some of the stores offer their pet leases, so you're actually leasing the pet, And if you stop paying, they actually repo the dog.
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and so, not
they're like
only
loan
the humane
sharks.
treatment, exactly, but it's also the treatment of the humans that can't afford these dogs in the first place, and then paying exorbitant amounts of interest.
Yep. It's really sad. But, I mean, in fact, someone told me the other day, we talk about, big this and big pharma, big chemical, big tech. We need to talk about big bank. I mean, what goes on, the banking practices, like you were just talking about. I mean, those, the amount, the percentage of interest that they charge people, is just criminal. It should be criminal. It needs to be stopped. How are we ever going to fix our economy? Or practices like you said, that goes on in these puppy places. It's just a problem. There's so much we need to fix.
And remember, after we got call after call every day from insurance, pet insurance, wanting you to sign, some, do these. Just
it's a total racket. Yeah.
It is. It is.
It is. Well, so let's go to this. We've interviewed guests from the Texas Humane Legislation Network for years, but it was just recently at your Puppy Mill Awareness event here in Dallas, Awareness Day, that we realized there are two different groups, the Texas Humane Legislation Network and the Texas Humane Network. So can you explain to our listeners how the two groups differ and how they work together?
Absolutely. So the Texas Humane Legislation Network has been around for 48 years. We are still a nonprofit, but we are considered a 501c4. And what that means is donations are not tax deductible because we go and lobby and try to pass those laws that we're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. The mission for THLN is to promote the humane treatment of animals through legislation and advocacy. Well, during COVID, we realized that we really need a C3 to help with all of our educational programs, as those donations are tax deductible. So we created the Texas Humane Network in 2020 to promote the humane treatment of animals through education, training, and outreach. Mm-hmm. And so the best way to explain this is that THLN passes the animal cruelty laws, and then the Texas Humane Network aids the enforcement of them through education, training, and outreach. And if you know anything about the C3, man, we have some programs that we are incredibly proud of. We offer free animal cruelty training for animal control officers and law enforcement officers throughout the state. We have created a third grade humane curriculum, and we have so many resources that really explain animal laws. And so we're just really proud of the C3 and how it's grown exponentially.
So many more questions I have for you. And one of them is, I'll tease it and we'll go to break, about the connection between animal cruelty and other crimes, including mass shootings. So stay tuned, everyone. Yeah. We'll be right back with Shelby. Stay tuned. You're listening to One Life Radio.
You're listening to One Life Radio. Make sure you check out our podcast and get to know the show at oneliferadio.com.
The ecosystems of the body and the earth are inseparable. Gut health is the foundation of all health. And just as biodiversity is integral to the health of the Earth's ecosystems, microbial diversity and balance are key to the health of your gut microbiome. I have been taking Enviromedica probiotics for over 6 years now, and I encourage you to try them as well. Rewild your gut with spore-based probiotics and wild-harvested prebiotics. Visit Enviromedica.com and check out all of their excellent products. Get reconnected to the earth with Enviromedica. That's Enviromedica.com. In the fight against corruption, together we are stronger. Join me at the Children's Health Defense Second Annual Conference, Rise and Resist, in Savannah, Georgia, November 3rd through the 5th, and learn how to confront corruption in big pharma, big government, big tech, big food, and all the regulatory bodies who are influenced by big corporate interests. At Rise and Resist, you'll hear from the most influential health freedom activists in the world, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Children's Health Defense Chairman on leave. Join the fight, and remember, people over profits, truth over lies, courage over fear. Go to childrenshealthdefense.org to get your ticket. The Children's Health Defense Second Annual Conference, November 3rd through the 5th in Savannah, Georgia. I'll see you there.
We're back. More of One Life Radio starts now.
Is Fabulous Friday here at One Life Radio. This is Bernadette Fiaschetti with Jerry Caldwell, Marie Early, and Shelley Babowski. We are continuing our live broadcast here from Dallas, Texas on iHeartMedia, as well as KMET in Southern California on ABC News Talk. We're talking about fighting animal cruelty in Texas. And before the break, I teased about talking about the tie between animal cruelty and other crimes, including mass shootings. What can you tell us about that, Shelby?
Yes. Well, recently law enforcement is definitely paying increased attention to animal cruelty. They obviously know that left unaddressed, animal cruelty can escalate in incidence and severity against human victims. And the National Sheriff's Association call animal cruelty a gateway crime. And also, the Joint Counterterrorism Assessment Team described animal cruelty as a possible warning behavior for mass shooters and terrorism. And I can tell you that our focus on our classes is truly on, looking at serial killers and mass shooters. And every serial killer and mass murderer started out hurting, killing, and torturing animals. But really, there's been this kind of awakening with respect to mass shooters. I can tell you that the Sutherland Springs shooter from Texas in 2017, he had been arrested twice in Colorado for animal cruelty issues. The mass shooter from Midland, Odessa, was on his roof every night shooting stray animals that would come onto his property.
Oh, gosh.
We know about the Buffalo, New York shooter, that he was killing cats. And I just want to give a graphic warning for everybody. I do want to talk about Uvalde because I think it is absolutely the most important mass shooting that we've seen. So the accused mass shooter who carried out this horrific attack in Uvalde committed animal abuse and displayed videos of the cruelty on social media platforms. It was horrific. He boasted all the time how he and his friends did it all the time. And if you go back to original interviews, all of the high school students knew that he had killed cats and showed them being tortured on social media, and not one person called the police. That is a felony animal conviction. He was committing felony animal cruelty, but nobody knew anything about it. Nobody did anything because they didn't report it. So it was actually so important that the Association of Prosecuting Attorneys, after the incident came out, said a history of animal abuse and or domestic violence are often the common denominators who eventually go on to commit mass shootings. Intervention is key. So when we go around the state and talk to law enforcement, we always explain Uvalde. And again, the police couldn't have done anything because they didn't know. Why didn't they know? Because kids weren't saying something. So we think it's imperative that we really work with our teenagers. And it goes back to our humane curriculum starting in third grade. If you see something, say something.
Yeah. I say go before third grade if possible. And this is kind of behavior is kind of, taught in the home too. It's a trickle down from the top. And so we need to pay attention to even what were you going to say, Marie?
Well, I have to say, it sounds like those kids might have been scared of him. I would have been scared of him if he was killing
probably.
And
Yeah.
showing videos.
If I can give a quick example, and I'm so proud of this young lady. It was in a town outside of Corpus Christi, and there was a student there, and he was a high school kicker on the football team. And he was truly the local hometown hero. He sent his girlfriend videos of him kicking cats in the air and doing horrific things to cats. And she had the bravery in herself to go forth and report him.
Good.
And he lost his scholarship.
Good.
And it was a huge controversy. But I totally hear you, Marie, but we've got to teach our students that they could be stopping serious violence in the future if they report this. And they will get the support that they need because she truly came out the hero.
Yeah, she did. And kudos to her. Wow, I love her bravery. We all have to be brave when we're facing people like this. And I think of, here in Texas especially, I'll hear stories and I always lose my mind when I hear them a little bit. I get so upset about it. About let's say they think it's acceptable to just shoot squirrels with a BB gun or whatever, just hunting squirrels or whatever. That is so Neanderthal. Haven't we grown or evolved enough that we are not doing that? That is not acceptable. And that's why I say, it starts at the top with parents. If you've got a father out there that's shooting squirrels for entertainment with a BB gun or whatever, that's not okay. And you're teaching that behavior to your son and other friends. And it just continues this craziness, this violence that should no longer be acceptable in our world.
Right. I agree 100%. And that is why we went out, we hired expert curriculum writers, and we created this third grade curriculum. You brought up a really good point earlier. Well, why can't we teach them even much earlier about animal cruelty?
Yes.
So according to the experts, the best time to teach kindness to animals through children is up until second grade. But then third grade, they can actually comprehend and understand animal behavior. They develop empathy towards animals, respect and responsibility, basic pet care. And it really starts at third grade. And we have learned, even just with the teacher feedback we have, that some of these students have shared, well, I am going to tell my dad he should not kick the dog when he has an accident. And that's coming from these teachings. So I feel that if we know better, we do better. Yeah. And that is precisely what we're trying to do with, these curriculums. And also effectuating change for millions of Texans and generations to come. And that is what we're trying to do, is break that cycle of abusing animals.
So how can people support the work that you guys do? Of course, donations, right? I think I actually do an auto donation for you guys. I'm pretty sure I do. I've got 4 or 5 on my visa that come through every month. I'm pretty sure I do. Sometimes your visa will get compromised and you have to reset it. But
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
we're so appreciative of that. Thank you so much. Yes. It's, what I like to tell people as we have a giving season coming up, if I can leave everybody with this.
Oh, yeah.
Please donate locally. Donate to your local rescues and shelters that do so much with so little.
Yeah.
But for our organizations, we do accept donations through the C3 and C4. But if you sign up at Texas Humane Legislation Network, THLN.org, and go to join, you are in our database. We do not spam you. We don't sell your information. We have a tiny but mighty staff of 2, and we are truly powered by our volunteers. But if you sign up, then we can send you those 2 to 4 minute action alerts. Calling up your state representative, your senator, your local city council member, it's as easy as ordering pizza. I mean, literally, it takes 3 minutes. We tell you, we give you a script. We always want you to tell your own story, like your amazing story with the pet store. But, then when to be effective. We truly believe in effective advocacy.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what I just thought of I'm going to do? So you send me the copy. We'll record a 30-second spot and we'll play it on the show. So, yeah.
Thank you.
We'll get the word out there. The giving season, I love that. And who doesn't want to help make this world a better place? We all need to work together. That's right.
Thank
All right. You. Such a great time having you on the show today. Thank you so much. What a great way to go into the weekend.
Yes.
All right. Thank you guys.
Oh gosh, thank you, Shelby, for everything you do. Everyone, I encourage you to donate to THLN.org. That's THLN.org, and support the very critical work that they do. You heard the connection between what we talked about, so it's very important to make the world a better place. Because you get one body, you get one mind, and you get one life. And you get one radio show, too. One Life Radio. Have a great weekend.